Let us start with the next compound statement. The next compound statement is implication. Implication is also known as the conditional. Here we are going to represent implication by using the arrow, and we read this as P implies Q. This arrow is implies and it is a implication. Now, what is the connective that we use for implication? The connective that we use for implication is if then. The connective that we are using over here is if then. So if we are using the connective if then, it is a conditional. Conditional, or you can call it as the implication. And the symbol that we use over here is arrow, and we read this as P implies Q. So if P is true, then Q is true, but if P is not true, then Q could be either true or false. Let us take an example. Let P, you study hard, is one atomic statement. Q, you will get good grade, is a second atomic statement. Then P implies Q is a statement whose verbal form is if you study hard, then you will get a good grade. Here the connective that we are using is if then, right? So P implies Q is if you study hard, then you will get a good grade, right? Over here P is known as the antecedent and Q is known as a consequent. The first of the statement is known as the antecedent and the second is known as the consequent. The first, that is P, is known as the antecedent and Q is known as the consequent, right? Let's move on to the truth table of the implication. P implies Q is false only when P is true and Q is not true. That means Q is false. Otherwise, it is going to be true. What I said? P implies Q is false only when P is true and Q is false. Otherwise, P implies Q is going to be true. So P implies Q does not say that P causes Q. P implies Q does not require that P or Q are ever true. Example, 1 is equal to 0 does not implies pig can fly is true. Look at the truth table. How to write the truth table? You are connecting two different atomic statements. So how many number of rows you are going to use? Number of rows are depend on the number of statement we are using, that is 2, so it is 4. So there are 4 rows, 1 2 3 4. How to write down these 4 rows? First two true or false, next two true, alternate true false or false true. Already I said that P implies Q is going to be false only when P is true and Q is false, otherwise it is true. So false implies false is true False implies true is true. True implies false is false. True implies true is true. So it is false only in this case when P is true and Q is false. Otherwise, it is true in all other cases. Now, what are the different phrases you can use on the place of P implies Q? It is P implies Q. If P then Q. If P comma Q. When P comma Q. Whenever P comma Q. Q if P. Q when P. Q whenever P. P only if Q. P is sufficient for Q. Q is necessary for P. Q follows from P. Q is implied by P. These are all logically equivalent expressions that we can use. Now let us try to understand something related to P implies Q. It is converse, inverse, contrapositive. Some terminology for an implication P implies Q. It is converse. So P implies Q. If is a it is a terminology, it is a statement for implication. Then first terminology is converse. Now what is the converse of P implies Q? It is Q implies P. You have to interchange the places of P and Q. Then it is a converse of this statement. P implies Q का converse is Q implies P. Inverse. Introducing negation on both the sides. This is a sign of negation. Taking negation on both the sides is known as the inverse of the statement. So P implies Q ka inverse is negation of P implies negation of Q. P implies Q is a statement and the converse of the statement is Q implies P. And the third one is contrapositive. Negation of Q implies negation of P is a contrapositive of the statement. So P implies Q ka contrapositive is negation of Q implies negation of P. Let me repeat this again. If the statement is P implies Q, then the converse of the statement is Q implies P. Inverse of the statement is negation of P implies negation of Q. And contrapositive of the statement is negation of Q implies negation of P. Now out of this four, two pair are having the same meaning. Two pair are having the same meaning. Like converse and inverse, they are logically equivalent and statement is logically equivalent to contrapositive. Their truth table are going to be the same. Which two are having the same truth table? Converse and inverse are having the same truth table. Statement and contrapositive are having the same truth table. Now let me take one more example on that converse, inverse and contrapositive. If you have a statement like if a man is rich, then he is happy. Obviously it is implication. you take this as a P and this as a Q. Now can you tell me what is the converse of this statement? The converse of the statement will be, if a man is happy, then he is rich. That is what converse of the statement is. If you want to write the inverse, then what is the inverse of the statement is going to be? Inverse of the statement is, if a man is not rich, then he is not happy. And last one, how to write the contrapositive. If a man is not happy, then he is not rich. This is how we write the converse, inverse, and contrapositive of any statement. Now let's move on to the next one. It is a biconditional. The last compound statement. Biconditional operator. The biconditional is represented by P double implies Q. This double arrow is known as the double implies, or it is known as the biconditional. States that P is true if and only if Q is true. P double implies Q states that P is true if and only if Q is true. Right? Let me take an example. Obama wins the 2008 election. That is the first statement P. Obama will be the president for all of 2009 is the second atomic statement Q. Then P double implies Q is, if and only if Obama win the 2008 election, comma, Obama will be the president for all of 2019. Same statement you can write in other way. Obama wins 2008 election if Obama will be the president for all of 2009, right? So for Obama to be the president of 2009, he should win the election of 2008. So Obama will be the president for all of 2009 if and only if Obama wins 2008 election. Now let us look for P double the pi conditional का truth table. P double implies Q means P and Q. P double implies Q means that P, Q have the same truth value. Note, this truth table is exactly opposite of plus, that means conjunction, and disjunction. P double implies Q does not imply P and Q are true or cause each other. Now let us go for the truth table. What do you have to remember while writing this truth table? If both P and Q are having the same truth value, then it is true. If both P and Q are having the same truth value, then it is true. Otherwise, it is false. What I said? If both the statement P, Q are having the same truth value, then it is true, otherwise false. If both are same, then true. otherwise false. If they are not same, then it is false. This is how we remember. So let's revise all the truth table whatever we have learned. First we have learned about the negation. True ka negation false, false ka negation true. Then we have learned about the conjunction. If both are true, then true, otherwise false. Disjunction. If both are false, then false, otherwise true. Implication. If true is false and if P is true and Q is false, then true implies false is false, otherwise true. And now we are learning by conditional. If both are same, then true, otherwise false. Now let us start to solve some questions from your textbook. First one, you have to write down the given statement in a symbolic form. The first one is Nagpur is in Maharashtra and Chennai is in Tamil Nadu. So this is your first atomic statement. This is your second atomic statements, and they are connected with the connective and. So we'll take this as a small p, this as a small q, and they are connected by and. So how you are going to write in a symbolic form? Look at the solution. Let P Nagpur is in Maharashtra. And let us consider the other one Q. Chennai is in Tamil Nadu. Therefore, logical expression is the logical expression is P and Q. Why? Because here we are using the connective and. Let us take another example. Triangle is equilateral or isosceles. So what are the two different statements? Take this as P. Triangle is equilateral is P. Triangle is isosceles is Q. And they are connected by or. So इसका आंसर क्या हो जाएगा? P or Q. Let's go for the another one. The angle is a right angle if and only if it is of measure 90 degree. So this we are going to take as P, and this we are going to take as Q. So what is P? The angle is a right angle. What is Q? It is of measure 90 degree. And they are connected with if and only if. Now what is the if and only if? It is a double implication. So what is the logical expression for this? P double implies Q will be the logical expression for this compound statement. Let's go for another one. Angle is neither acute nor obtuse. Now over here it is be very clear. Here they are using neither, which is the negation of certain statement. So you are going to take two statement without negation, because negation is also a connective. So the first statement you are going to take is angle is acute. So P, angle is acute. And what about the Q? Angle is obtuse. And then this statement is going to be, these two are connected by neither nor, means negation of P and negation of Q. So what is the logical expression for this is negation of P and negation of Q. Let me go for next example. If triangle ABC is a right angle at P, then measure of angle A plus measure of the angle C is equal to 90 degree. So this statements, there are two statements. What are the two statements? Triangle ABC is right angle at A, this is P. Measure of the angle A plus measure of the angle C is equal to 90 degree is your second statement. And they are connected with if then connective. So what is if then connective? P implies Q. So the logical expression for question number 5 is P implies Q. Let's go for another example. Hima Das wins gold medal if and only if she runs fast. So what are the two different statements we are having over here? First one, Hima Das wins gold medal is your first statement, that is P. Hima Das runs fast is the second statement, that is Q. And they are connected by the connective if and only if, which is represented with the double implication. So what is the logical expression for this? It is P double implies Q, which represents Hima Das wins gold medal if and only if she runs fast. Let us go for another one. The next question is, x is irrational number but x is a square of an integer. So over here the first statement you are going to take is, here you are using the negation which is a operator. So remember, you can't include that not in a statement. So what should be the P? In this case, P is going to be x is irrational. X is irrational. And what is Q? X is a square of integer. X is square of an integer. Right? So how you represent this in a logical way? It is negation of P. This is not is there, right? So not is there, so it is a negation of P. But that means it is a conjunction. So and Q. So the logical expression for this is negation of P and Q. Is this clear?